Here we go. Today is September 3rd. And today we are solving systems using substitution. Solving systems using substitution. Last week on Friday, we solved systems by graphing. And you all did quite well. I like those worksheets because if you were graphing correctly, then they all would have crossed really nicely, intersected in nice places. But a lot of you found that, I'm not graphing the right way. So hopefully you were able to fix some of the graphing issues. But what we did was we had one equation and you would graph that one equation, and then you'd have another line and you'd graph that line. Where is the solution to a system of equations? Where they intersect. That's right. So what we're doing is we're figuring out where two equations intersect. And we're going to learn a couple of different methods for doing this. So you're going to learn by graphing. We did that on Friday. Today we're learning by substitution, and we'll learn another method tomorrow. 3 different ways, and you get to pick which one works the best. So we're finding where the equations intersect. We want to know the x and the y coordinate of where they intersect. So I'm going to show you the substitution method today, and I sure hope you've seen this before. But I don't know what people teach in algebra these days, because it's all messed up in my opinion. But we are solving the linear system using the substitution method. So today is all about the substitution method, and you will probably have homework tonight because I need you to get this done for homework tonight. Substitution is 90% of math. It's super important that you learn how to do substitution correctly, okay? So I'm going to show you some examples today. I don't expect you to understand the first time we do something. We will do this 3 times together. I hope by the 3rd time you understand what the process is, okay? So pay attention, write everything down, draw the little arrows, and we'll work it out. So what we have is we have 2 equations, and we have 2 unknowns. We have an x and a y, and that's what we're trying to figure out. What's the value of x and what's the value of y? What I like to do for substitution is I do the 2-column method. So I have 2 columns, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write one equation at the top of one column, and I'm going to write the other equation at the top of the second column. I invented the 2-column method. You don't necessarily have to do the 2-column method, but it's good. It keeps everything organized, okay? It doesn't matter which equation goes at the top of which column, not going to be important. So the very first thing we do once we write down our 2 columns is we are going to isolate the easy variable. So you're going to write down some steps as we go. Isolate the easy variable. So we're going to look at our x's and y's, and I want you to tell me which one do you think is the easy variable? The y on the right side, this guy. Sure. Why do you think this guy is the easy variable? There's no coefficient. Yeah, the coefficient is a positive 1. This coefficient on x is a negative 1. Both of those are pretty easy, but would you say that positive 1 is easier than negative 1? Sure, right? That makes sense. Here the coefficient is a negative 2. Here the coefficient is a 3. So identifying the easy variable is pretty easy, right? Which one has a 1 in front? Okay, that's the best way to go. What we want to do is we want to isolate this easy variable. So I want to get this 1y all by itself. So what should I do? Add the 1x, move it to the other side. All right, we can do that. So I have y equals, now what do I have on the right-hand side then? Can I put these together and make a 3x? No, they're not like terms, so they're going to just stay separated. A 1x, and this is a positive 2. Now, substitution means to substitute, okay? We are substituting one thing for another, and what's really important is that you understand what an equation actually means. And I explained this to my 5th grader last week. She had a little logic problem that was like this. This says that y is exactly the same as 1x plus 2. Do they look the same? No. But I'm telling you, that's what the equal sign means. It says the y is exactly the same as the x plus 2. They're identical, which means I can plug one thing in place of the other. So what I'm going to do is take this 1x plus 2, and I am going to substitute it in place of, what is it going to go in place of? What is 1x plus 2 equivalent to? It's equivalent to y. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to drop it in place of the y. That is the second set. Substitute. Into the other equation. Now, we are replacing the y with the x plus 2. I'm going to write down everything else. Negative 2x plus 3. And what is in place of the y? The 1x plus 2. Instead of the y, we're plugging in a 1x plus 2, an x plus 2. Don't forget to write the rest of the equation. Don't forget the equal 0. That's the most common mistake when you're learning substitution, is you forget to write the rest of the stuff. Okay. You'll notice, do I have the y in my equation anymore? No, we've replaced it. And what is left are only x's, and this is an equation that we can solve. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and step 3, solve. So we're going to distribute. So I have a negative 2x, and we're going to distribute. 3 times 1x is what? 3x. And 3 times positive 2? Positive 6 equals 0. Distribute. Now we're going to combine like terms. Negative 2x and positive 3x gives us what? Positive 1x. Plus the 6 equals 0. And how do we solve for x? Subtract 6. So we get x equals 0 minus 6 is negative 6. We solve for one of the variables. Do you think we're done? This is the beauty of the 2-column method. We're going to say now x is exactly the same as negative 6. And what do I have to do then with this negative 6? Plug it in back on the other side. You'll notice what we did with our circle here. Do you see the circle? We're completing the circle. This is the beauty of the 2-column method. You see that? Isn't that cool? You like completely, okay. I know, I'm silly. But. All right, so I'm going to plug in place of the x. I am plugging in a negative 6. 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. Plus 2 is negative 4. We solved for x. We solved for y. The last step is to substitute value back in. And then, of course, we will check our answers. I'm not going to do it today, but I'll show you tomorrow. We want to check our answers. We want an ordered pair when we're done, because just like we're finding the intersection, the ordered pair where they cross, we're doing the same thing. What's our ordered pair? Negative 6, negative 4. This is our solution. Okay? I like the 2-column method mostly because if you draw the arrows, you'll be able to figure out when you're done because you know you've worked your way all the way back to where you started. Okay? So it's just a nice little visual organizer. It keeps it nice and neat. Okay, so let's try a couple more just to make sure we've got the pattern down. Today, I'm going to say all your answers are going to work out really nice. All right, you shouldn't get any fractions for answers today. So if you do get a fraction, you know you made a mistake. Okay, so today is just all about getting the pattern down. So I'm going to go ahead and write 2x plus 3y equals 7 at the top of one column, and x minus 2y equals negative 7 at the top of another column. There's my two equations. What's our first step to solving? Find the easy variable. Where's the easy guy? The x. Yeah, it's a 1x right there. Circle that easy variable, and you want to get that easy variable by itself, which means leave him alone. Get rid of the other thing. So how do I get rid of the other thing? You would add 2y. Add 2y. Negative 2y and positive 2y is 0, so the easy guy is isolated. That was our goal. Isolate the easy variable. What's left on the right-hand side? A 2y and a negative 7. So this says 2y minus 7 is exactly the same as what? It's exactly the same as x. So what are we going to do with the 2y minus 7? Plug it in for what? For x. It's the same as the x. So we're going to go over here and drop it in place of the x. It is the same as x. So we replace the x. So I have 2. And what are we dropping in place of the x? 2y minus 7. 2y minus 7 goes in place of the x. What else do I need to write down? Plus 3y and the equals 7. Yeah, don't forget the rest of that equation. Really important. Now what should we do? Distribute. Good. 2 times 2y is 4y. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. Very good. Don't forget to write the rest of the equation. Plus 3y equals 7. Now what should we do? Combine like terms. 4y plus 3y is 7y's. Minus the 14 equals the 7. And now we can isolate the y. What should we do first? Add 14. Add 14. So 7y equals, 7 plus 14 is? 21. 21. Is y by itself? We need to divide. Divide by 7, divide by 7, so we get y equals 3. Are we done? What do we need to do with this y equals 3? Plug it in place of the y. Back over here, 3 is the same as y, so we're going to plug it right in there. X equals 2, and in place of the y, a 3, subtract 7. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 7, negative 1. So what's our ordered pair? Negative 1, 3. Thank you for putting it in order. Ladies and gentlemen, your worksheet today doesn't use x's and y's. It uses all kinds of different letters. Write them alphabetically. A before Z. Okay? All right, so negative 1 comes first. 3 would come second. All right? Raise your hand if you're getting this pattern. You feel the circle? Do you feel the love? Does anyone see the new Lion King?
No.
The new old Lion King? The new Lion King remake? Those kind of things just always cheer me up. Get some nostalgic. All right. Last one, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Negative 3x plus. Oh, you know what? I'm going to change it up just because I want to. So you can see that it doesn't matter which column you start with. I'm sorry, I'm changing it up just because. It does not matter which column you start with. It doesn't matter if your circle goes counterclockwise or clockwise. None of that matters. And then I have 2x minus 4y equals 2 in one column, negative 3x plus 4y equals 1 in the other column. Doesn't matter. Your job is to find the easy variable. So looking at letter C here, where is the easy variable? 2x. How come this is the easy variable? It's the lowest, like the lowest number. That's positive. That's good thinking. If I were to try and isolate this x, I would have to divide by negative 3 everywhere. And if I divide by negative 3, I'd get 4/3 and 1/3. I'd get fractions. Fractions don't make life easy, do they? So that would definitely not be an easy variable. The same if I divided through by 4. Divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. I'd get a half. Here I'd get a half. So again, I would get fractions. But when we divide by 2, those will clean up just fine. All right, so sometimes it's going to be a little bit harder to find the easy variable, but you're trying to find something that's not going to give you any fractions. So I want to isolate 2x. What should we do to get that guy all by himself? Add 4y in. We're going to move the other thing. Leave that alone. Move the other guy. So we have 2x equals a positive 4y and a positive 2. Does it become 6y? No. All right, and then what do I need to do to get x by itself? Divide everything by 2. I'm hungry. Man, conferences really mess up our eating. 4y divided by 2 is 2y. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So this says x is exactly the same as 2y plus 1. What am I going to do with this 2y plus 1? Plug it in on the other side in place of what? Drop it in place of x because it's the same as x. So we're going to put it in place of x. So we have a negative 3. And what's going in place of x? 2y plus 1. Folks, make the circles. Draw the arrows. That's what notes are for. All right? They're really helpful. And then don't forget to write the rest of the equation. Positive 4y equals 1. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do what next? Distribute. Negative 3 times 2y. Negative 6y. Negative 3 times 1. Negative 3. Plus the 4y equals 1. Then what? Combine like terms. Negative 6y and positive 4y. Negative 2y minus 3 equals 1. Now what? Add the 3. Add the 3. Negative 2y equals 1 plus 3 is 4. And then divide by negative 2. So y equals 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. All right, what am I doing with this negative 2 now? Plugging it back in, going back to the other side and completing my circle. Now you see this circle went the other direction. That's fine. Doesn't matter. Completing the circuit. Closing that circuit. 2 in place of y. Negative 2 plus 1. 2 times negative 2 is Negative 4 plus 1. So negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. So what's my ordered pair? Negative 3, negative 2. All your answers should work out real nice, just like we have in notes today. Do your work carefully. Do you have any questions for me? Also remember, if you had extra credit, you could turn that into the basket. There was extra credit over